India's growth. India is a predominantly a rural country with two-thirds population of and 70% workplace residing in rural areas. Rural economy constitute 46% of national income. Thus, growth and development of rural economy and population are a key to overall growth and inclusive development of the country. Contrary to the common perception of predominance of agriculture in the rural economy, about two-thirds of rural economic income is now generated in non-agricultural activities. However, the impressive growth of the non-agricultural sector in rural India has not brought significant employment gain or reduction in disparity in worker productivity, thus underlying the need for a new approach to direct the transition of rural economy. What are the constitutional provisions related to the rural development in India? Directive Principle of State Policy, Article 40 of the Constitution, which enshrine one of the directive principle of state policy, lays down that the state shall take steps to organize village panchayatas and endow them with such power and authority as may be necessary to enable them the function as unit of self-government. 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, Panchayat Raj institutions was constitutionalized through the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1992 to build democracy at the grassroots level and was entrusted with the task of rural development in the country. 11th Schedule of the Constitution. It places as many as 29 functions within the purview of the Panchayat Raj body, including agricultural extension, land improvement, implementation and land reforms, etc. Panchayatas are empowered to prepare plan for economic development and social justice in respect of subject as developed by law to various level of panchayat, including the subject as illustrated in 11th schedule. What are the major issues related to rural sphere in India? Lack of educational enlightenment. The school education in rural India is mostly dependent on government and government aided schools. For rural India, the journey of education is not easy. Students from rural schools either have no access or lack of access to advanced learning tools such as digital learning, computer education and non-academic books. Also, families from rural areas are always in financial burden due to various reasons. For the education for their children became the second priority. That's why they are forced to participate in income generation activity for their survival. Lack of effective administration. The biggest problem in the way of successful rural development in India is a lack of transparency in the administration system. In these areas, corruption thrives due to a lack of political awareness. The accountability mismatch between special purpose agency and panchayatas also contributes to this problem. Rural-urban water conflict. Cities are rapidly expanding as a result of rapid urbanizations, and a large influx of migrants from rural area has increased the per capita use of water in cities, which is causing water to be transferred from rural reservoir to urban areas to meet deficit and posing a risk to rural area in meeting their water needs. Rural-urban water conflict. Cities are rapidly expanding as a result of rapid urbanization, and a large influx of migrants from rural area has increased the per capita use of water in cities, which is causing water to be transferred from rural reservoir to urban areas to meet the deficit and posing a risk to rural areas in meeting their water needs. Rural inflation. The inflationary pressure in the economy in impacting rural India more than its urban counterpart. Data from the National Statistical Office, that means NSO, reveals that consumer price inflation, that means CPI, has grown at a higher rate in the rural area compared with the urban areas. For instance, the inflation rate for cereals in rural area increased to 10.08% during August 2022 compared to 8.65% for urban areas. Unplanned migration, unplanned rural to urban migration, particularly in search of better economics opportunity, is putting severe pressure on urban amenities and forcing a large number of low wage migrants from rural area to live in unhygienic and deprived condition. It is also leading to feminization of agriculture in India. Lack of fiscal autonomy, panchayat have very little fiscal autonomy. Grama Panchayat have only limited power with regard to setting tax rates, and revenue basins board parameters for such exercise are fixed by the state government. Resultantly, the extent of vertical gap and volume of conditional grants are much higher. It reduces the fiscal autonomy of the Grama Panchayat and follow only feeble scope of freedom of borrowing and development. What are the recent government initiatives related to rural empowerment? Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Gramin Kaushalya Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Kaushalya Vikas Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Mantra Vandana Yojana, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, National Rural Livelihood Missions, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana.